Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here. We have a real treat for you today, both figuratively and literally, if you will join us up in Hemispheres after the talk. Eric Ripert, executive chef of Le Bernardin, is here to talk about his new book, On the Line, and he is joined by his acclaimed pastry chef, Michael Laskonis. I'd like to share some background information on both of these gentlemen. Eric Ripert is grateful for his early exposure to two cuisines. He was born in Antibes, France, then moved as a young child to Andorra, which is just over the Spanish border. His family instilled their own passion for food in the young Ripert, and at the age of 15, he left home to attend culinary school in Perpignan. Forgive my French if I get all of these things wrong. Later, Eric honed his culinary skills working under Joel Robuchon in Paris and with Jean-Louis Paladin in Washington, D.C. Since 1991, he has been with Le Bernardin, and in 1995, he took over the kitchen after the untimely passing of his predecessor, Gilbert Lecouz. Since then, he has led Le Bernardin forward consistently, earning top ratings from the New York Times, 4 stars, the Michelin Guide, 3 stars, and the Zagat Guide. Joining him as executive pastry chef of Le Bernardin, Michael Laskonis produces delicate desserts that are an elegant balance of art and science. In 2007, he was awarded Outstanding Pastry Chef by the James Beard Foundation. In his 5-year tenure as pastry chef at Tribute in Detroit, Pastry Art and Design twice named him one of the best 10 pastry chefs in America. Now at Le Bernardin since 2004, Eric is quoted as saying, "Michael's sensibilities perfectly complement the Le Bernardin style of light, inventive, and elegant food." And here to talk with both of them is our own Eileen Naughton. So please help me welcome them.
Thanks. Well, I'm delighted to be here. I explained to Eric and Michael that we are a culture of foodies, and Eric has had the fun, I guess, of also being at a Tech Talk in Mountain View in December, so has a fair respect for the level of interest and curiosity of Googlers. So, interestingly, Le Bernardin, how many of you have actually had meals or one meal, if only that, at Le Bernardin? It is certainly worth a treat. In my former life, I used to work at Time Warner, and Le Bernardin was diagonally across the street. We didn't have a Hemispheres restaurant, but we did have expense accounts. And I had many, many, many memorable meals at Le Bernardin, including one that Eric donated to a charity, and we purchased and had a luminary set of guests from the Time 100, and it was really a thoughtful session, but mostly a generous act on the part of Eric. I actually have a number of questions. I spent the weekend enjoying the book and looking at some of my other books, and I happen to have a book at home called My Last Supper. If you haven't seen it, it's a photographer, Melanie Dunea, who has interviewed 50 great chefs about their last meals on Earth. And when Eric was asked what his would be, he said it would be a simple dish, a slice of toasted country bread, some olive oil, shaved black truffle, rock salt, black pepper, and a great bottle of red Bordeaux, all the necessary food groups in my mind. But Eric, why so simple a meal, and why not fish?
Actually, to go back to Melanie, in this book with her husband, Nigel Perry, they did all the action shots of the book. And she has that book, My Last Supper.
Interesting.
Also. Well, I said black truffle because I really find the black truffle magical. I love it as a chef and as a gourmet. I have passion for black truffle, and I can tell you one thing. During the season, which is from December to March, I eat black truffle lunch and dinner. It's because as a chef, I have to test, make sure it is good. But,
he also eats chocolate every day, I read in his notes, yes. Black truffles and chocolate.
For chocolate, it's no season, it's all year long. For black truffle, it's a season. But I thought, if it was my last supper, I would enjoy that very much because it's my favorite food. And also simple like that, just on top of toasted bread and a bit of olive oil and salt. It's on my last supper, I don't want to be busy cooking too much. I want to be enjoying and relaxing. And drinking, of course.
Well, I guess the question many of us would have is, how what is your secret to sustaining excellence? You've had 20 years now of 4 stars, and in the Michelin Guide, 3 stars, the one of, 4 U.S. restaurants to receive that kind of accolade. And here at Google, we happen to also be in something of a leadership position, but how do you sustain it? We're only 10 years old here, so...
And you have done quite well in 10 years.
So far, so good.
You're basically on the planet. I think it's about passion. If you really have the passion, you are going to find ways to organize yourself, to materialize your ideas. And to me, it has been an amazing driving force, the passion for, first of all, eating, because since a very young age, I love eating great food. And when I was a kid, at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, my Christmas gift and my birthday gift and any kind of gift was to go eat in a famous place to eat properly. And then I developed much later on when I decided to become a chef. At age 17, being such a bad student, I had to go in a professional kitchen. I discovered that I had a great passion for cooking as well. And coming to the US in 1989 was basically my first American experience. And from there, I went to the Bernardin in 1990. And all my knowledge that accumulated before just came back. And I decided to live my dream with a team and to nurture the team, to create a very big team that could help me to, again, materialize my ideas.
So I think I read you have about 100 chefs at Le Bernardin, is that correct?
No.
Or they rotate through different chefs?
With their wives, yes, we are. We are about 40 cooks, including the pastry department.
And how large is your department, Michael?
We're 7, including myself.
So how do you foster, so you each have what we would call vertical specialties, pastry, stocks, garde-manger, the poissonnerie. How do you maintain a sense of collective team spirit? And it would be interesting, Michael, for you to talk about Eric as the chef and orchestra leader and what lessons you've learned.
I mean, I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago, what drew me to pastry, because I had experience on both sides of the kitchen. And it kind of hit me after the fact that it was really the autonomy that I enjoyed. I mean, I'm always going to have a boss, but being a self-starter and kind of having my own ideas and knowing how they fit into the overall vision is something that I think I'm given the trust to go with. As far as we're concerned, yeah, I mean, we kind of run as a little autonomous. I usually refer to it as my fiefdom. Next to the kitchen, but there is constant interaction, and I'll look at stuff that they're doing in the kitchen to get ideas, and likewise they're coming to us for techniques, and it's really an interesting relationship. I mean, I hear stories from pastry chefs all over the country. I don't get along with my chef, and we clash and we fight, and I just don't even understand that concept.
All you have to do is give him some chocolate; he'll be fine.
Well, no,
Actually, I steal all his chocolates every day.
He knows what time I get in every day.
He's hiding them now. They're hiding them in different places, but I find them.
But no, I mean, what we do has to logically follow the menus that they create. So it's all one vision, and we just, in pastry, we just contribute our part to it and hopefully add to it as well.
So clearly there's a seasonal balance to what you do. You take the bounty of the season, whether it's black truffle season or raspberry season. But how do you continuously evolve the menu so that it's always fresh and appealing and yet stays true to your longstanding tradition of, excellent seafood, very pure flavors, very delightful but light desserts?
Well, creativity, it's something that you don't necessarily control. What I mean here that you don't press a button and you're creative, and you press a button and you stop being creative. Creativity is in your mind, and it's something that you have or you develop over the years and that you cultivate. And what inspires us, it's obviously the season and what we can find in the market. It's a good mic. The ingredients we find in the market. It's also creativity comes from our experiences in terms of sharing with other chefs, visiting other restaurants, visiting countries, visiting markets. All that makes its way to the menu in some aspect. What we do at Le Bernardin, Michael is very autonomous. He's working with his team and they do their things in pastry. But for the kitchen, what we have done with the sous chefs, a group that we meet 2-3 times a week, and we talk about creativity, what inspires us, what's exciting, a new technique, something. And from there, we go in the kitchen and we try new ingredients and new techniques, and we test and we eat and we try. And when we're lucky, 2-3 weeks later, those ideas are on the menu. The way we work with our menu is that we print the menu in-house. Therefore, we don't have to wait for the last day or the first day of the spring or the last day of the summer to have a full menu. When we have a good idea, we print it and we put it on the menu. And the key rule that we have is the new idea must be better than the old idea. If not, why bother having something new on the menu?
And is it ever the case where you're surprised by the availability of certain fish in the market at 4 in the morning and it changes the course of your menu plan that day? Or
it doesn't really work like that. On the market, the way we buy, it's pretty predictable in terms of species. We know which ones are the good species and which ones don't have flavor in terms of fish. So we have at Le Bernardin about 30 to 40 different species on the menu, but it's always the same ones. It's very rare that a fisherman calls us and say, "Oh, I got this very exotic fish and it's brand new." It doesn't happen like that.
Oh, well.
But I like the romantic idea of being there at 4 a.m. and being inspired and cooking at 6 a.m.
How about your secrets for customer service? There's no question that the dining experience at Le Bernardin is one of reserved indulgence and pampering on the part of the staff in a very, very discreet way on the part of the clientele. How do you sustain that? And in this environment where budgets are tighter, expense accounts, I bet you at Time Warner, have been rolled back. So how do you sustain that level of service and maintain the business?
Well, we have a very simple mission, if we can call that a mission. But whatever we do at Le Bernardin, it's to bring a smile on the face of the clients when they finish with their experience. You don't come to our place to have food. You come to our place to have an experience, and we deliver an experience. In the dining room, the front of the house, we really want to be technically close to perfection. However, with a friendly attitude, not a stiff attitude. Although it's not like if you come to Le Bernardin, we are not coming to your table and, "Hi, I'm Eric. I'm going to be your waiter tonight. Are you doing folks?" It's not our approach. We are less interactive, but we still have I think a warm service.
Yeah.
As for the slowdown and with the economy, I always thought that in the difficult economy, it's not like all the money has evaporated and suddenly no one has $1 in his pocket. And it's a clientele for restaurants of our category. It's a clientele for luxury brands. Mm-hmm. I think whoever is spending $1 wants the maximum value for his $1. Therefore, by providing consistency and excellence, by not compromising our standards. I mean, if yesterday we were putting black truffles, today we're not going to replace them, half of it with black olives. Mm-hmm. It's whoever comes to Le Bernardin and is willing to spend some money really wants, again, no bad surprise, and wants really have, again, the best value. So we stick with that idea, and so far it's working really well. not compromising the standards, however, not compromising the price as well.
And you've actually extended, so you have 3 other restaurants, right, besides Le Bernardin in New York. So
We have a restaurant in Washington, D.C., and one in Philadelphia, and one in Cayman Island.
and are they all different names?
It's not Le Bernardin.
Okay.
It's a more casual concepts and
I see. So you have you're playing to a different clientele necessarily across the other
Yes.
cities.
Well, Cayman Island is Le Bernardin by the beach, so it's
Go in barefoot.
being in the Caribbean is not bad. And then in Washington D.C. and in Philadelphia, it's American bistro restaurants. So it's much more relaxed and.
And is your presence and leadership felt in each of those restaurants? Do you find yourself on the road a lot with those? And
Not really. I mean, I spend most of my time at Le Bernardin, and to be able to have a restaurant 1,000 miles away or 2,000 miles away and have the restaurant functioning properly, what we have done a partnership with a good operator. It's the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and they basically manage for us, and we basically licensing. Therefore, we have a chef who comes from us, and then they're supposed to deliver the product that we desire. And that's the best way for us, for me to be at Le Bernardin and take care of the restaurant as much as I want to take care of it. And for them, it works because they have a human resource on site. If the manager leaves from New York, I'm not going to get a better organization to find another manager than their human resource.
one comment you made, something I read over the weekend, was that you actually don't spend much time on the line cooking yourself anymore, but rather make sure you taste everything that's leaving the kitchen, which I think would be the funnest job of them all, especially Michael's stuff.
Depend of the days.
But your goal is really to impart your vision and bring the chefs up to a level of performance that's consistent with your vision for Le Bernardin. So can you talk a little bit about that and how easy it is to train in skills that you've acquired in working in some of the finest restaurants in the world, including briefly at Boulet, I believe, right?
Yes. Well, I always thought that, the chef in a small kitchen, I understand, has to be hands-on. But the role of a chef in a big kitchen, like we have, like 40 cooks, it's more, if I can make an analogy, it's more like being a conductor of an orchestra. Mm-hmm. And the conductor of the orchestra knows how to play piano and play violin. However, he's not going to play all the instruments. He's going to make sure that the team, his team, can play the music the way he wants to hear the music. For us in the kitchen, it's the same. It's about mentoring, about teaching, about sharing knowledge with our team. And the goal for me is to make sure that they will cook exactly the same as I would. At the same time, I'm basically conducting the team. Giving the rhythm to the kitchen, checking the quality of the food, and I'm looking at every aspect of the kitchen. If I was cooking in one table, imagine cooking for a table of 8 is a lot of work to do in a house or in a restaurant. So if I was cooking for a table of 8, I basically don't see the other 80 people. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on in the kitchen. But by being in control of that kitchen, by being in the center of that kitchen, I know exactly what's going on, and I can manage, again, the timing for our tables, the rhythm. I can make sure that everybody's doing their duties properly and make sure that the food tastes good as well, because my function is really to test a lot of the food.
Again, nice job.
And just to add, from my perspective, and that's what I respect most about him, is that he's both very big picture in terms of running a business and all of the ideas and everything that generates, but he also knows how the monkfish sauce tastes at 5:30 p.m. So I'm actually inspired by that ability to be that narrowly focused, but also kind of rallying the team around the big picture as well.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, and that honestly, that is a leadership trait that
Yeah.
is consistent no matter whether you're working in a 4-star restaurant or in an enterprise like Google. That kind of the ability to be able to zero in when there is an issue or something requires focus and look across the enterprise is a consistent leadership trait, I would think. Michael, do you have a favorite dessert?
I'm asked that all the time, and I still haven't yet come up with a really good answer because I like it all. I tend to, at the end of the day, just crave salt. The cooks will come over, will try to come over in the middle of service and grab a spoonful of sorbet or something. I need a palate cleanser, every couple hours, just a piece of bread, just to kind of like refresh my palate from just tasting sugar all day.
You have to taste too, clearly.
But but it's still, even though I work with it all day, I could easily sit home and polish off a pint of ice cream, just absentmindedly.
If you had 3 kitchen tools that you couldn't live without, each one of you, because you have probably different orientation, what would they be?
First of all, knives.
Yeah.
Not knives, excellent knives. I think
You sharpen your own?
Yes. In a kitchen.
On a
You
stone.
give me
right?
ideas. But in a kitchen, knives is something that it's very personal. You don't share your knife with others. So every cook in a team has his own knives. And I think knives are essential again because it allows you to cook in a more refined way. And I give you an example. If you cooking a piece of meat and you have some onions or even a salad with onions and herbs, and if the onions are huge like that, when you bite into an onion, your salad is gone. If you have good knife skills, you will be able to cut the onion to the perfect size, and it will bring the right flavor, the right moment, and you control completely the experience, so the knives. Second of it, I will say good quality pots and pans.
Yes.
It's absolutely essential. You cannot cook properly if your pan is starting to melt and the metal becomes like that underneath. And so good quality pots and pans, and a good fish spatula.
The long ones with the slots
No,
in it?
not the long, like that.
Okay.
No tongs.
No tongs for fish. Well, of course not. You'd break it.
There are no tongs in our restaurant at all.
At all?
It's not allowed.
Oh, that's interesting, because Mario Battaglia on this stage said that his number one, if he only had one utensil, it would be tongs. But that's the difference. But vive la différence, and that's what makes the world go round, right?
I'm glad he has his own restaurant. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, no. And Michael, how about you?
I would say my first would be a digital scale, because as opposed to the other side of the kitchen, we weigh virtually everything down to the gram. Sometimes I have a special scale that measures down to the 10th of a gram for consistency and all of that. Wow. So I mean, that's indispensable. If I didn't have a scale, I'd be
Couldn't
lost.
bake. Wow. Did you train in France or did you train here?
No, I've vacationed in France, and I've eaten in France, but I've never worked.
So a scale.
A scale, sort of my version of the fish spatula is little tiny offset spatulas. They usually cost $2 or $3 in the kitchen stores. We use it for virtually everything. A door is starting to get loose. It's a great screwdriver. And then probably one of the best inventions for pastry in the 20th century, or what came from the 20th century, were silicone baking mats.
Oh,
the non-silpats, yeah. And they've taken basically that same material and made every conceivable mold out of it. They go from the freezer to the oven, and it's...
And there's no residue that's imparted to
No residue,
Teflon.
Totally non-stick.
Okay, I will get one.
You can use them thousands
Resisting
of times.
for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. someone was asking how you can make a vegetarian experience more enjoyable. I know the basic protein part of the meal tends to be fish at your restaurant, but do you find because we have a lot of raw foods here and a lot of vegetarians here at Google, so just a question about that.
Yeah, it's about creating contrasts and having peaks in your food, which can come. I mean, what I call peaks, it's like something a bit spicy, a little bit of sourness here, a little bit of texture, and all that combined together and becoming something harmonious. But if you have something very rich, for example, beans or starch, if you bring a little bit of acidity, suddenly you're going to give the illusion of lightness. And it's going to become, instead of being something bland, you're going to have like something with contrast. If you bring a little bit of herbs into it and garlic, and suddenly you're going to create more depth in terms of flavors, complexity. So if you cook vegetarian, or if you cook fish, or if you cook meat, it's the same kind of approach, I think, that makes the food exciting. It's to bring some different elements with different flavors and sometimes different textures. If you have something very soft, and especially if it's soft and a starch, if you bring a little bit of acidity, a little bit of a spice, and then something crunchy with it, suddenly that starch that could be eventually like heavy and not really exciting becomes something that you really want to have again.
So it's chemistry is what you're talking about, and it's also the sensory reality of the juxtaposition of ingredients.
Yes, it's
and then it's flavor.
It's basically playing with your taste buds.
Right.
And as you know, if you eat something and it's, I mean, it's something that I was never able to eat. It's on the morning. How you call that?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal to me, it's the most boring. I just can't.
Who had oatmeal here for the breakfast this morning? We have a big vat of it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my wife enjoyed it, but to me, it's something that, for me to be able to eat that, I need to add apples in it and something crunchy, and eventually I can have a little bit
like
of it.
Muesli,
But if not, it's I find it boring a little bit.
Have you ever experimented with exciting the taste buds and come out with a total dud and you say, how did I get here? Or are you so far past making mistakes that...
No, we strive on mistakes. No, we make mistakes every day in terms of combinations, and the fact that we try our food. Obviously, we stop the mistakes before they go to the dining room. But again, it's one mistake leads to something creative, and we end up with something else.
Very cool. I see there are mics in the floor, so for those of you foodies who don't want to let me have all the questions, please get up and ask some questions.
So at Google, we're known for having a pretty rigorous interview process. So can you talk about your interview process at your restaurant? And I'm hoping there's some format of a quick fire challenge that's incorporated.
We are much tougher than that for the interview. Whoever has interest in working with us, first of all, has to come and spend one day with us, just to observe. And no commitment on both sides, but just to observe and see if we just get along and if it's exciting for the person to join our team. And then we conduct an interview after that. And what we're looking for really in an interview, I mean, it's not like a formal interview with 10 exact questions. We have like a very casual conversation. But what we're looking for, it's someone who can work in a team. Someone who's a team player is very important. Someone who has a tremendous passion, and someone who's hardworking and clean. and then we will manage with that. Because we have in our kitchen, the kitchen works a little bit like a football team, although I don't understand football. Okay, a soccer team. You have the champions, and they are the guys who are probably most of the time marking the score. And then you have the guys who are just there to pass the ball to those champions. So in our kitchen, it's the same. We have the champions, and the champion for us is the guy who's in charge of the sauce. The saucier is the champion. And then you have the guy who's going to pass the ball to him. So that guy is the one who's peeling the garlic for him. So we have different levels in the kitchen, beginners and advanced cooks. But again, always the same criteria to work with us. Cleanliness, hard work, a team player, and passion. Because it's hardcore. I mean, every day it's at 8 o'clock at night, at lunchtime, it's basically the war. It's chaotic, it's very intense, pressure, it's very physical because, of course, you can imagine the heat. So people who have passion can go through that.
Do you have different shifts, or do the same chefs do lunch and dinner? Because that would be an enormously long day, no?
We have two shifts, the morning and obviously the evening. However, the management of the kitchen, including Michael, we do lunch and dinner.
Wow.
But that was your experience, like way back in the day at Jaman, was you started at 7 and you worked till midnight.
Yeah,
That's
no, it actually was a bit, it's 7 o'clock. I mean, I was the guy coming at 7 and they called me the tourist. Because everybody there was there at 6. And then we would work until midnight or 1 o'clock. Wow. But that was really the old-fashioned, hardcore way.
And you did that for how many years?
I came to the US 2 years later.
It's easier here. John.
So even on the cover of the book, you guys spend a lot of time bent over. And I'm sure that gets murder on your back and your shoulders. And we're lucky enough here, we have a massage program. But so you might want to think about. But I wondered I'd love for you guys to talk about some of the stress and how chefs deal with that, because it is such a pressured environment. And I think you have to be cool all the time, basically. But how do you deal with it?
You're both very fit. I mean, so the profession doesn't seem to no? I mean...
Yeah, sure.
Well, people often ask me, I've never seen such a skinny pastry chef. I'm like, well, I don't eat the whole thing. I taste and then throw away or whatever. But also, 12 hours on your feet every day. And, you kind of graze all day long. But, I have a real dinner usually at midnight, 1 in the morning at home. But it's to the physical stresses. It's a reality, and it's a matter of working smarter, not harder. It's about your posture, and sometimes it's about your shoes. We have rubber mats that we stand on that help. It is a profession that favors the young.
The sturdy too, yeah. The young.
Well, it's very important to have good shoes to begin with, but. A lot of
You wear sneakers in the kitchen?
Yes, those are my working sneakers, actually.
Nikes.
To go faster. But, I have a lot of back pain at the end of the week. I feel it. And it's a matter of, again, positioning, being in the kitchen as straight as you can and stretching. I stretch a lot.
It's interesting. They could use our massage program. Could we lend them some of our masseuses? Interestingly, on the line, there is a whole segment in the back which shows the plating techniques, and there's illustrations of how the sauce and the garnishes are applied to the plate. So part of the joy of eating Bernardin is a visual, an aesthetic elegance to each table setting, each plate, the floral arrangements. How do you impart that? Because there is something of a sophisticated aesthetic, and how do you teach that in? And it comes all the way down to the petit fours that arrive after the dessert.
Aesthetic of the dish is not a priority for for me. Although we work on the presentation later on to make sure it looks good and it's appealing and exciting. But the priority is to find the right flavors. And we have a mantra at Le Bernardin that says, because we are a seafood restaurant, the fish is the star of the plate. And that means a lot, because if the fish is the star of the plate, whatever goes in the plate is to enhance the quality of the fish. It's not to, nothing goes in that plate to bring starch or to look cute or bring color. It's all, everything has a reason, and it's always about elevating the fish. But again, when we succeed with the flavors, then we look into the presentation of the dish. And I don't know if you were.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I mean, I studied art and design, and so a lot of that stuff, and while it isn't the first thing I think about when constructing a dish, it just kind of naturally comes, and sometimes it's hard to explain to people like how I came to that, composition. But I mean, one thing that I've been thinking about lately myself is, that kind of fine line between refinement, or what we think of as refinement, and pure artifice. So once I have a dish kind of conceived and constructed, and I'll have him taste it, and then I start to look at it and say, okay, what can I take away?
So it's
to
not
still,
too silly.
Yeah, and so it's, we have egos and we want things to look pretty, but you have to start asking yourself, well, does that little tiny dot or smear of sauce, does it really enhance anything? So it's, even for me, I still have to kind of keep myself in check, but it's, first and foremost, it's the flavor and the textures, and then the visual, while important, usually is just an afterthought. It kind of takes care of itself.
So restraint is, I think, a theme within the restaurant. I see our Top Chef winner. We had an internal competition. Didn't you win? Yeah. So I won it 2 years ago. We had a charity drive here. We had competing teams, and this is this year's winner.
Thanks for the intro.
Delicious scallops. Delicious scallop dish.
Well, I was happy to see that the recipe for the progression of marinated fluke made the book, as I remember that as being one of my favorite dishes that I've ever eaten in any restaurant. My question to you is: are there any dishes that you've created over the years that you consider to be either your favorites or something that you figure are maybe one of your best things? And if so, is the recipe in the book?
Yeah, we try not to have signature dishes at the restaurant, which means even that fluke ceviche that's on the cover of the book, it's not on the menu anymore. Over the years, of course, we have some dishes that are very strong, but after a few years, max, we remove them, because if we don't remove those dishes, then we're gonna cling onto those old dishes from 5 or 10 years ago, and then suddenly, instead of evolving and advancing, we're going to be at best static, and therefore we're not going to progress. So we keep the favorite dishes, sometimes 2-3 years, and then they're out. And most of the menu, like 80% of the menu, change over the period of time of 1 year. As of some of my favorite dishes, of course, they are in the book. As well.
I have to say that and I remind him of this every few years, one of the most memorable dishes I've ever eaten in my life was actually now 11 years ago, the first time I actually ate at Le Bernardin for lunch. And it was skate sauteed in goose fat with the squab jus. And to this day, and all of the eating I've done in my life, that is still one of the dishes I remember the most.
Wow. Yeah. Could you recreate it?
I don't know that I would want to recreate it. I'd love to see him do it one day. But.
Cal Polly.
Hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, Mike, you talked a little bit about the components of the creative process, collaboration, and clearly there's the sensory tasting portion and so forth. Also, there's an intellectual element, of course, and I sort of wonder if you could talk a little bit about the process of creation and how those, not necessarily collaboration, but let's say you're working by yourself at home, for instance. How much of experimentation can you taste your dish and say, okay, I know exactly what I need to do because I see it in my gut. I know exactly what it is that I need to do to make it better. How much of it requires a lot of sort of sitting there and thinking, and, you know, not necessarily agonizing over, but really sort of reflecting upon it. And also sort of combined with that, how much does, I'm going to let that part of the question go. But basically, I'm really curious about how you mix experience and the intellectual process in your creativity.
Well, to begin with, cooking for me is a very instinctive way of doing craft. I mean, it's when I cook, suddenly I'm in totally, I forget about everything else. It's a very meditative process for me. And I really, and I don't want to freak you out here, but I really connect with the ingredients. And what I mean by that, I understand, I suddenly understand what the tomato is going to like in a pan. And I'm creating at the same time, and it's instinctive. And what guides me, it's my palate, of course, my eyes, and my hands. But I just let it go. I just let it happen. And it took many years to reach that level, but today it's what it is for myself. And when I create, if I'm not entertaining 10 people at home and it's in 1 hour, I take risky moves. Mm-hmm. And if it's not good, obviously I start again. Now, I don't recommend for anyone who's entertaining at home and who's going to have one shot to suddenly go crazy on the spices and in a half hour you have to feed your guest. For the restaurant, what's happening when we create, we try a lot of different combination, and we try every day, the sous chefs and myself, a new combination, something, and then most of the time it doesn't really work. So we adjust, and then we progress, and it progress. So our cooking cannot be like, I'm going to the fish market this morning, I see a beautiful fish, and I'm going to invent something. It's a much slower process for us. We believe instinctive, it's great, but at the same time, to reach the level where we want to be, it takes a lot of time and a lot of trying and a lot of mini failures. And at the end, we end up with a dish, of course, that makes us happy. And obviously, the client's happy.
So to make it on the menu, that recipe has gone through hundreds of hours of iterations and review.
Sometimes we're just lucky. It's we try something and it's wow, great. But that happens once every 6 months. It's much more difficult, especially when you create something that hasn't been seen or tested yet. You know, when you are in terra incognita. You don't have too many references, and so you just advance, and then you have to try, and then it doesn't work really, but you know it's a potential, and you try again, and it's endless.
The key to that is, I think, the discipline and the fact that we do it, or at least try to do it every day, and yes. Because it's like any craft or art, I guess, you know, practice helps. You know, it's like writing or riding a bike. You know,
it's like writing code. I mean, I am thinking of the engineers here at Google and in listening to this, because we often will try and iterate until we have a refinement on a solution that becomes a product. So, and Google has gone where no one else had been before as well. So there's a lot of interesting truths to what you're talking about, to what we practice here every day.
Hi, I'm so excited to see you guys here. I just had a question. Michael, I know you have a blog, and Eric, I'm not sure if you do, but I was just wondering what your thoughts were. Oh, you do? Great. I'll have to check it out. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on the internet and just kind of connecting to people in that way, and how you use it sort of in your profession as a chef.
I think in the last 10 years, the internet has really helped speed up, for better or for worse, the speed at which innovations are taking place. Because it's making the world a smaller place, and there's a lot more information exchange and networking, and that's always a positive. And in terms of just, I mean, I have a bookshelf at home with 200 books. I don't look at them anymore. If I have a question, actually, you know where I go. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. And the blog is kind of an extension of that. It was actually his idea to start doing it. As soon as he mentioned it, I was like, yes, of course, and ran home that night to start working on it. To me, I kind of grew up in the 80s and 90s in sort of like the underground punk rock culture where, you know, photocopied fanzines were kind of like the way to communicate. And to me, blogging is sort of like the modern high-tech version of that. And for me, it's been great. I mean, I have connections now all over the world, and it's the process of blogging about what I'm doing and sharing it with other people is also kind of challenging me internally. It's changed the way I work, and it's kind of helped me be creative as well.
Wow, that's incredible. So everyone should check out what's your blog's name, Michael?
Well, I have two, actually.
Oh.
One is
one for your alter ego?
One is sort of for like kind of just general musings that I don't post on that often, and then one I try to actually post on every single day. One is Michael-Laskonis.com, one is mlaskonis.com.
All right, check it out.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I'll be greedy and try for two, but very quick questions, I guess. One would be, where do you guys like to go for, call it low-end, sort of chowhound food in the city? Something that's like a guilty pleasure, maybe not the high-end meal, but the kind of
like Nathan's hot dogs kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly, but like your secret find in that variety. And then the other would be, was there a cookbook for either of you guys coming up that was a really strong reference or influence, or something that you turn to now that's a great book that we should all think about buying?
On the line.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in a second into your question. I have a blog also, and we have decided last year to, it's called aveceric.com. We decided last year to do about 13 mini videos in a toaster oven, and to cook something really delicious
In a toaster oven.
in a toaster oven, because I think toaster oven, it's a very
New York appliance.
well, you know, in New York we all have small. I mean, most of us have small apartments and a galley kitchen, and 80% of the time the pots and pans are storage in the oven. And when you want to cook something in that oven, it's an entire production just to empty it. Then you have to wait for the oven to be hot, and so toaster oven, nobody looks at it really with interest, but you can cook great things in it. So we did those mini videos, and I think you will find that entertaining and especially educative.
Great.
For a restaurant lately, I'm almost obsessed with one of our neighbor. It's a place called Yakitori Toto, and I go there. It's fantastic because I go there for a year and a half now, and I'm going there once a week, and they act like they don't recognize me still. When I arrive, they're like, no table, you have to wait 45 minutes. So I give my cell phone, and then they call me back about 10 minutes later. But it's an interesting dynamic with them.
You think they don't know you?
I don't know. They just,
odd.
I mean, I'm not looking to be recognized as Eric, the chef of Le Bernardin. I'm just being recognized as someone
you're a
who
regular
eats
customer.
50 times a year in your place.
Give me a table.
But it's worth the trouble.
And how about you, Michael?
It's funny. I mean, moving to New York and having the smallest kitchen I've ever had, I probably cook at home more now than ever. But you know, for me, I like super casual. I mean, not super low end, but just the perfect salad, the perfect burger. I mean, the first place that comes to mind is Soho Shorty's 32, because it's a chef, and to me, it's kind of indicative of, you know, a trend that we're all seeing in cooking, where you've got the chef who trained in all the classic places, and it happened in Paris 10 years ago, And when they decided to open up their own restaurant, they were like, I just want a fun, cheap place. So Josh there is doing, burgers, but he's doing really refined food at the same time. Cool. So a place like that is just fun. It's like comfort food.
Cool. A few more questions, Erin, quickly.
Hi, I love seeing you on Top Chef, by the way. That was really fun, so thanks for coming out. I actually had the same question, so I'm going to change it up a bit. What's your favorite special occasion restaurant in New York? And also, is there any food that you absolutely despise that you can't eat? For me, it's mayonnaise. I can eat everything else but mayonnaise. Is there any one food that you both can't eat?
Oatmeal. It's one ingredient I really cannot eat. It's brains.
Yeah.
It's really something I just can't. But everything else, it's okay, but no brains.
Okay.
I mean, I'll try anything once in the name of gastronomy. However, I was in Thailand last fall, and the group of chefs that we were with, they were on a street food jaunt, and had to get the bag of crickets and that. And to me, that's where I draw the line. It's like I'm not afraid of it. I just don't see the point.
Yeah, I agree. Last question.
Well, I was very excited when I saw that there are recipes in this book. So I found the recipe for the dish that I really liked in your restaurant, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna try to make it. And I started reading the ingredient list for the white sauce yuzu fluke. And we have white sauce. I don't know where to buy it, what it looks like.
You
Maybe
make
I'll
it.
Google and find it. Then sushi rice. Okay, no problem. Some water. Hopefully tap water is okay. Rice vinegar. Ran out yesterday, but I'll buy it. Espelette pepper. I don't know what makes it special. Again, Google it. I'll find it. Then we have fluke fillets. I can't cut it like sardines on the show, but on the Top Chef. But hopefully, I'll manage a few pieces. And then I see xanthan gum. All of my hopes are just dashed, destroyed, because I'm sorry, I don't carry it. And then the same goes for the desserts at the place, at the restaurant. What was it? Something like pomegranate caviar, something like those dots. Delicious. So, are there any recipes here that I can make at home? Question for both of you.
Yes. So we did that on purpose, actually. Let me explain. This is not, On the Line is not necessarily a cookbook. On the Line is a documentary that brings you backstage, brings you in a kitchen and in every part of the restaurant. And the idea was to create a book that would be inspiring to anyone, not only foodies and people who are in our industry, but a book inspiring to people who have to run a business, or people who are creative. So in that book, we go from some parts of the front of the house, and we explain the mentality and the motivation that we have in a restaurant. We go through the kitchen and the struggle of the kitchen, and it's about building a team, and we go into the financial aspect of the restaurant. So and then at the end, we wanted to have recipes because it's part of the restaurant, and we have about 60 recipes. But it's not a classical cookbook where you have 120 recipes and the ingredients are easy to find. Because it was a documentary, we wanted to have the recipes exactly the way they are at the restaurant. Therefore, be very loyal to what we are. So we didn't look to make it easy, and we didn't do a book where you have 15 minutes, 3 ingredients, and 1 easy technique, and the meal is done. It was more about documenting what we do. So I'm sorry if you struggle. I'm sure you can find some of them.
You can get xanthan gum. You can find that. Yeah.
Just nobody carries it, though. Most of the people don't have it in their pantry.
Yes, it's true. But again, I mean, we have another book called the Bernardin Cookbook. It's very simple. But this one, again, it was not really the purpose of the book.
One last question. How do you recommend in New York City apartments you get the smell of fish out of your apartment when you cook it?
I recommend to shop properly and not to buy fishy fish. Because fish doesn't smell like fish ever. Fish smell like fish when it's old.
Yeah.
So when you go to the store, or when you go to the fishmonger, it's a couple of tricks. First of all, if you
Ask to smell it?
if it's you should. Why not?
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna have to deal with the consequences at home, which is unbearable. So you should be smelling the fish. But if you're shy and you don't want to go through the trouble of smelling the fish, if you have at the store the fish in fillet, the flesh of the fish should be really translucid, not like white opaque. If you buy a fish and that it has a little bit of blood on the fish, the blood should be red, not brown. Obviously, when you buy tuna, if the tuna has the color of chocolate, it's not a good idea. But really, the ultimate trick is to smell the fish. And if you buy the fish whole, you should look at the eyes, and the eyes should be bright
Clear,
and not like opaque. If you look at the gills, it should be bright red and again not dark. And the flesh, if you touch with your finger, should spring back pretty fast, and you shouldn't make a hole with your finger in the flesh. But again, even for whole fish, we at the restaurant smell the belly of the fish at all time. Like when the butcher smells it, and it's the only place where you know where they cannot trick you. It's impossible to hide the smell in a belly. So we do that at the restaurant. Of course, you're not gonna at the store go into the belly of the fish, but you can smell your fish. It's okay.
Well, Eric, Michael, thank you for being with us at Google, and I think you have a number of acolytes here in the room, and the cookbook on the line, it's not a cookbook, it's actually a book, a documentary, and it's a fascinating look inside a very complex and very, very accomplished restaurant. So we thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. It was
so
a great
much.
pleasure. Thank you.